had a huge success on his hands before he even released it. But could Red Ball 2 live up to the expectations set by the first game in the series? On October 8th, 2009, people were able to find out. Due to Red Ball having become an established name in the Flash game scene due to the success of the first game, the play count on Red Ball 2 accelerated much quicker than that of the first game in the series. While it took Red Ball 1 around 5 months to reach 1 million plays, Red Ball 2 achieved that figure in just about 2 months. But how did the gameplay actually stack up? Red Ball 2 took the series in a drastically different direction, placing unique puzzles in almost every single level while adding tons of new gameplay elements like water, airstreams, darkness, stars, toxic water, switches, disappearing blocks, and much, much more. Red Ball 2 also had 20 main levels, 8 more than that of Red Ball 1. Like Red Ball 1, Red Ball 2 has 5 additional bonus levels that were site-locked to King.com. The puzzles in Red Ball 2 were often long and convoluted, and every single star needed to be collected in each level before the flag at the end could be collected. Due to the much greater quantity and complexity of levels in Red Ball 2, it proved to be a much longer game in terms of completion time. The graphics in the game also received quite the overhaul, and whether it was for better or for worse is up to one's own interpretation. Regardless, Red Ball 2 was received quite well as a casual experience, and it would become an important stepping stone in the progression of the Red Ball series. However, what did all the aforementioned changes to gameplay mean for potential speedrunners of the game? If the game is filled with long puzzles that don't allow for sequence breaks due to the star mechanic, wouldn't that make for a less than ideal speedrunning experience? And when were the first Red Ball 2 speedruns even performed? As it turns out, the question of when the first Red Ball 2 speedrun was performed is a very complicated one to answer. The first Red Ball 2 speedrun that was submitted by a player to the GameSpeedrun.com leaderboard was a 2140 time set on the 31st of March 2015 by Greggy. However, it seems highly improbable that nobody else recorded a full playthrough of the game and uploaded it online in the span of 6 years after the game's release. By spending several hours scouring YouTube for ancient recordings of the game, I found several playthroughs of note that could possibly be added to the leaderboards and marked as world records. Going chronologically, we have this 2-part walkthrough of the game that was uploaded on October 9th, 2009, a day after the release of the game. This playthrough is actually performed on an older version of the game that records a death count, rather than the score that is present in the current version of the game. Unfortunately, this older version is currently lost media. Combining the 2 recordings of the walkthrough yields a time of around 15 minutes flat, but the lack of any game or background audio makes it impossible to tell if this walkthrough is spliced, a likely reality, and the slight discontinuity between the 2 recordings makes it unsubmittable to a leaderboard anyways. It's impossible to know if the gap between the 2 recordings is 1 second or 10 hours. So next up, we have a 6-part playthrough of the game by a Let's Player named Catman, uploaded on October 10th, 2009, 2 days after the release of the game. The time of this run would come out to roughly 39 minutes and 58 seconds, but unfortunately, the 6 parts of the Let's Play are not continuous. You see, from around 2006 until July of 2010, YouTube limited the length of all uploads to under 11 minutes. This system was in place as an effort to combat the rampant uploading of full TV episodes and movies to the platform. As YouTube's Content ID system improved, this limit was raised to 15 minutes in July of 2010 and then was removed in December of 2010 for all verified YouTube accounts in good copyright standing. However, still working with the 11-minute limit, Catman had to split up his Red Ball 2 Let's Play into many parts, opting to stop and start new recordings between episodes, leaving small gaps in the playthrough that unfortunately make it unverifiable as a speedrun. Next up to bat, we have a 4-part playthrough of the game performed by Sarkandar, uploaded January 27th through January 30th, 2012. Though these videos were uploaded on separate days, the recording is actually continuous, with each part picking up exactly where the last one left off. Piecing the run back together yields a 20 levels time of 41 minutes and 16 seconds, which, to the community's current knowledge, is the first verifiable Red Ball 2 world record ever performed. Though that definitely was not the intention of the playthrough.
Yay, I'm gonna roll around for a bit.
I'm gonna roll around on the floor for a bit, Kay.
I'm gonna roll around on the floor for a bit, Kay.
Moving forward, we have a two-part Red Ball 2 tutorial uploaded by Carlos Venencia on January 6th, 2013. This could have been an enormous world record of around 16 minutes and 40 seconds, but unfortunately, the 2 recordings are barely discontinuous, having a brief jump on the menu before level 10, making it unverifiable. Finally, to round off the ancient Red Ball 2 recording expedition, we have a full playthrough uploaded by the Fado96 on January 31st, 2014, clocking in at 22 minutes and 13 seconds, a new world record. So yes, despite all that digging, Greggy's 2140, set on March 31st, 2015, remains a historic world record. Since it is the first world record with acceptable video quality, let's dive into this one to get a brief overview of what speedrunning Red Ball 2 is like. Level 1 involves rolling Red Ball to the right and collecting the 3 stars atop this mound before collecting the flag, where 1.5 seconds pass before the game progresses to the next level. Levels 2 and 3 involve similar basic platforming, but in Level 4, Red Ball must travel vertically through a large airstream to reach the flag, stopping at the top of the stone platforms to collect all the stars, with optimal airstream movement having a very high skill ceiling. Level 5 is the first level to introduce a puzzle, requiring a wooden ball to be pushed onto a pulley, which raises a platform that allows Red Ball to reach the end. Level 6 has a top section with moving platforms leading to a single star. Red Ball can then enter the underground section, wait for the elevator cycle, and avoid a few crushers before taking the airstream leading to the flag. Level 7 involves raising a gate, pushing a plank on top of the water, and then rolling a stone ball to the right side of the level, allowing for the top of the castle to be reached. Level 8 involves filling this gap with water, with the spigot having to be open for over 6 seconds, whereafter the wooden ball can be pushed across and onto the pulley, raising the gate. Level 9 involves lowering a drawbridge and then rolling a cannon across, which shoots cannonballs at the castle's wall, slowly removing it stone by stone, eventually creating a gap that is large enough for Red Ball to fit through. The trajectory of these cannonballs is partially determined by RNG and can make this 30-second long process take even longer than normal. Level 10 involves raising a platform by activating a switch for long enough and pushing the flag boat across the water and toxic water to allow all the stars to be collected. Level 11 is where the puzzle complexity really starts to ramp up. On the bottom level, there is a moving platform that is activated by a switch present on the top level. Greggy follows the intended solution of moving the platform below the hole on the right side, dropping the box from the top level onto the platform, moving the platform back all the way to the left, pushing the box onto the elevator and then onto the switch, waiting for the platform to complete a full movement cycle, and then riding it to the flag. All in all, this takes Greggy almost 2 whole minutes. Level 12 involves difficult platforming on sloped platforms to reach the flag at the bottom of the level. This level can be made a lot easier by using the down arrow to increase Red Ball's friction with the ground. But Greggy's gameplay makes it seem like they are unaware of this, as they end up taking several deaths in the level as a result. Level 13 thrusts Red Ball into the darkness, as the stars must be collected and the obstacles avoided with very limited visibility. Level 14 is similar to level 8, but there are now 2 reservoirs to fill water with the second hole filling from the first. Water must be taken from the middle of the second reservoir to spin a turbine that opens the ground cover for the tunnel that the flag is housed in. Level 15 houses a very lengthy puzzle, requiring 3 wooden shapes to be transported to the top of the level and placed on their respective switches, opening the passage to the flag. The triangle starts here, near the start, the square starts here, near the top of the elevator, and the circle starts here, in a tunnel accessed at the bottom of the elevator. Because of the ordering of the buttons, the triangle has to be transported in front of the square at some point. Greggy accomplishes this by pushing the square down to the level of the triangle and then pushing them both into the airstream, carrying the triangle past the square. All in all, the level takes them around 1.5 minutes. Level 16 involves pushing a couple of wooden planks into the toxic water and then using them to collect the 3 stars above the gap. Greggy ends up making contact with the toxic water on both the first and second planks, but Red Ball ends up living. This is because Red Ball has a hidden health bar that has 30 points, and Red Ball loses 1 point of health every frame that he spends in toxic water. Greggy spent 26 frames in contact with the toxic water, just barely managing to live. Level 17 involves simple platforming on some hidden platforms that become visible as Red Ball makes contact with them. Level 18 involves some tricky platforming on blocks that disappear as Red Ball leaves contact with them. One must take care to leave blocks at the start of the level so it is possible to reach the flag again once all the stars have been collected. In level 19, one is intended to collect all of the stars atop these planks without ever toppling them over, as initiating a domino effect will dump stars over the edge. Greggy struggles greatly with this level, as it takes them over 2 minutes and 30 seconds to complete. In level 20, Red Ball must avoid the rising toxic water while collecting stars, eventually able to use the boat to reach the top section of the level, reclaim Red Ball's crown, and complete the game. As mentioned before, there are 5 additional bonus levels 21 through 25, that one can play if they travel to the game's sponsoring website, King.com. But Greggy does not end up playing them, so the explanation of those will have to wait. Though Greggy's run had many obvious ways to improve, it wouldn't be until January 29th, 2017 that a new challenger would approach. In their first ever completed speedrun of the game, a speedrunner named Moore finished Red Ball 2 in 17 minutes and 38 seconds, a new world record. Compared to Greggy, Moore simply committed less mistakes, floundering far less in levels 12 and 19, actually implementing a creative backup in 19 to prevent having to reset the level and try again. Moore choked greatly in level 20, spending over 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the level. Continuing to stream throughout the day, Moore set a 16:59, then a 16 flat, and finally a 15:33. In this 15:33, Moore actually entered level 20 slower than they had in 17:38, but significantly better execution in the level led to a much better time. Moore left the game alone for a while after this day of attempts, though they did briefly come back to win the 15:28 on February 10th, 2018. However, things wouldn't really start to accelerate until I, Maximum, picked up the game on October 14th. To best Moore's 15:28, I had a couple of tricks up my sleeve that would allow me to save quite a bit of time on some of the levels. In level 11, I collected the first star, and then I moved the platform into a position that would allow me to jump to it, collect the second and third stars, and then jump back. I then moved the platform under the 4th and 5th stars, pushing the box through the hole to the lower level and landing on it, allowing me to collect the last stars and complete the level. This saved me around 30 seconds over the intended method. Then, in level 18, I used a much faster route to collect the stars that saved around 20 seconds. I did play the 5 bonus levels after completing the 20 levels run, so let's take a look at those levels to see what they are like from a speedrunning standpoint. Level 21 is a stone pyramid of sorts, housing a star in each of its 10 compartments. This does appear to be impossible to complete at first, but the visual representation of the level does not match where the hitboxes actually are, and there are enough hitboxes missing to allow Red Ball to collect all the stars within the pyramid. Level 22 is also not what it appears to be, with this seemingly empty level actually having 122 blocks that only become visible as Red Ball makes contact with them. This invisible maze has quite a few different ways to be traversed, as I opted to take this route through the level to collect all the stars and reach the flag back at the beginning. Level 23 features a short golfing minigame known as King Ball, where this ball must be carried into this hole for the level to be completed. I made an extremely serious world record progression video about this single level on April 1st, 2021, which I highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. Level 24 features a symbol puzzle, where invisible blocks to the right must be revealed to show which symbol must be input on these 3 buttons to the left. The starting symbol on each button is randomized at the start of the level, and there are 5 symbols that are secondary. Advance on each contact with the button with the order square, squiggle, line, arrow, and triple bar. The correct combination is square, arrow, squiggle every single time, so speedrunners have no need to find the combination from the hidden blocks. Since each button has 5 possible starting symbols, there is a 1 in 125 chance that the correct ones are selected by default, opening the flag gate right away. On the flip side, it is equally likely that one starts with the worst starting symbols possible, squiggle, triple bar, and line, requiring 4 contacts with each button to achieve the correct inputs. In level 25, the ending flag tracks opposite to Red Ball's X position along an elevated arc. Red Ball must platform on some hidden blocks on the left to be able to drop down on the ending flag while it is at the very center of the level, the only position where it is able to be collected. I ended up finishing the full 25 levels of the game in 17 minutes and 36 seconds. Going back to the 20 levels run, I did commit large mistakes in levels 13 and 16, leaving quite a bit of room for improvement. However, I wouldn't need to expend much effort to beat it, as a huge revelation made 3 days later would completely flip Red Ball 2 speedrunning on its head. In early 2018, speedrunner MotorJam found an interesting guidepost present on the Red Ball 3 leaderboard that had gone completely unnoticed for many months. The guide, posted by someone named Truman to Good, read, "If you press pause and jump while on the ground, your game will be paused, but when you clicked P again, you will jump. Knowing this, if you press P and jump at the same time, then hold space and click P, you jump twice as high. I found this messing around, so this should make the run a lot easier." MotorJam was shocked to find that this glitch worked in Red Ball 3 exactly as described, with it becoming known as the pause jump. Essentially, the pause jump works by allowing Red Ball to jump, but pausing the game before Red Ball is able to leave the ground. On the pause menu, the timer that restricts how often Red Ball is able to jump runs out, being half a second long. Thereafter, while the jump button is still being pressed, the game is unpaused, and since Red Ball is still on the ground, another jump is executed. So the force from 2 jumps is applied to Red Ball on these same frames, giving him the height of at least those 2 jumps combined. MotorJam first posted about this glitch on September 26, 2018, but I somehow completely missed that message, not becoming aware of it until another conversation that took place on October 16, 2019. Jam claimed that the glitch worked in Red Ball 2, but that it wouldn't save time because of the star mechanic. In Red Ball 2, the execution of the glitch was slightly different since there is a 2-frame delay added to every single jump for some reason. So, you had to press jump and then press the pause button exactly 2 frames later instead of pressing the buttons on the exact same frame like in Red Ball 3. This, consequently, made the trick more awkward and inconsistent to perform on Red Ball 2. However, what about Jam's claim that the trick would be mostly pointless? Well, let's just say that wasn't exactly true. Despite having to still collect all of the stars in each level, pause jumping bypassed puzzles in levels 5, 7, 9, and 17, saving around 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and 5 seconds respectively. Level 25, the last bonus level, could also be completed around 10 seconds faster with the strategy. Pause jumping was also sprinkled around in other levels like 16 to skip a bit of platforming. Red Ball 2 was getting significantly faster thanks to pause jumping, but the game was far from its limit in terms of optimization. I mean, the last record in the montage, my 11:33 on October 30th, was set during a random no-reset full series Red Ball run. With no competition in sight, I didn't have much motivation to try to beat my record, but thankfully, a new runner would enter the ring less than a week later. On November 4th, 2018, Backspace claimed a world record of 11:07 with his first ever submitted Red Ball 2 speedrun. To save a bit of time, Backspace added a pause jump into level 10, while also using a sooner pause jump in 16. In level 15, he attempted a new strategy where, instead of gently guiding the circle to its respective button, he simply rolled it from the elevator with the right amount of speed to have it stop on the button naturally from friction, saving a whole elevator cycle. Unfortunately, he failed the strategy, as he had to go back to correct its position. Backspace incorporated another new strategy in level 20 where he used pause jumping to collect the crown and all the stars at the top of the level without having to use the boat. This saves lots of time having to wait for the toxic water to rise, as Backspace is able to complete the level by contacting the boat near its original position, saving around 10 seconds in this instance. With this, a rivalry had formed between Backspace and myself, as we would continue to trade the record back and forth until someone could come out on top. The next day, I scored myself at 10:43 by executing levels 14 and 15 without the mistakes that Backspace had, and I also completed the new level 20 strategy around 7 seconds faster. The run nearly died at this jump in level 18, but I barely managed to jump on this corner of this block without it disappearing. 3 days later, Backspace got onto yet another great pace in the late game. He had a cleaner levels 1 to 13, fixed the mistakes he had in 14 and 15, and then implemented a new method of completing level 19 that saved him a bunch of time over the jump once on each plank method. He opted to, instead, skip some of the planks, collecting the remaining stars on the ground once the planks fell backwards.
So you can imagine then, little old sleep-deprived me, sitting in front of my janky-ass monitor and my scuffed mechanical keyboard, when all of a sudden, this run drops out of nowhere. I get past level 18 and level 19 relatively quickly. All that's left is level 20, the pause jump nightmare. I know I haven't been hitting my pause jumps consistently. I know I've choked this level in the past. It's 12 a.m. for crying out loud. Why am I even up? But still I persist. 1 jump down. 2. All that's left is 1 star. I set up the jump and...
Backspace scored the first sub-10-minute time in the game's history. His 9:58 was a big step up from my 10:43, but I wasn't yet down for the count. 3 days later, I snapped back with a 9:46. In level 7, I implemented a new route where I pause jumped on top of the castle, rolled to the stairs, and then rolled back to the flag, instead of using the underground tunnel and coming in from the right side. I had cleaner execution than Backspace in lots of areas like levels 14 and 20, but I still managed to lose almost 20 seconds in level 16 from a death. In my description, I made the possibly bold statement that a sub 930 was obviously possible. But would one of us be able to achieve it? On the very same day, Backspace got onto a decent run that did not have a death at 15, which put him around 12 seconds ahead of me. However, his 18 was a bit sloppy, and he opted to complete level 19 the safe way, just jumping once on the top of each plank. Thankfully, his level 20 was really solid, and he scored a new world record of 9 minutes and 41 seconds. Inching closer and closer to the sub 930, it appeared that it wouldn't be long before one of us would achieve it. And on November 13th, just 9 days after our rivalry began, one of us would have a golden opportunity. Entering level 20, I was easily on pace for the sub 930. All it came down to was nailing each pause jump and optimally collecting the stars at the end. Unfortunately, I committed 2 costly mistakes and only scored a 935. I stated, early game and 20 are the biggest sources of time. I have now hit the tennis ball again. Unfortunately, Backspace wouldn't be there to get it back to the other side of the court. No, he didn't die or get caught in the tunnel or anything. He just stopped playing the game.